Different morning to come across parts of Wales, southwestern England, potentially some sunshine around, and with temperatures above average here for the time of year, it will feel fairly pleasant. There will be plenty of dry and fair weather across much of England and Wales through Thursday as well. So a little drier interlude in all the rain we've had this week so far. Further north across parts of Scotland as well, there will be some sunshine, but that cold wind will continue to keep temperatures well below average, 7 or 8 degrees at best, with cloud and rain persisting across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Now that fine weather across the south will not last too long. The next batch of rain arrives on Thursday night and will linger through much of Friday. There is a weather warning in force for rain, but there will also be some very brisk easterly winds that will bring potentially some disruption as well. So please keep up to date with the forecast. Looking further ahead to the rest of the weekend, it does look a little drier.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation.
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
Practice Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. It's me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, on State of the Nation tonight.
Why does the Prime Minister think that there would be a market meltdown if the Health Secretary took over?
Mr. Speaker, this is a united team and we are delivering together.
That was a very good question. The Prime Minister is on borrowed time. The Reverend Starmer is in the midst of a confidence battle with fears Wes Streeting could be positioning himself for a coup. Downing Street warned Starmer would fight any leadership challenge. Once Prime Minister loses the support of his ministers, it becomes impossible to govern. Also tonight, Britain is a nation on benefits. More than 4 million people now claim universal credit without a requirement to look for work, up 50% since the Socialists took office. With the welfare bill heading towards £100 billion a year, Britain is sliding into a benefits crisis it can't afford. Plus, the government is reviewing its decision to deny compensation to the WASPI women. A newly unearthed document has reopened the debate. The Work and Pensions Secretary insists payouts are not guaranteed. Is it time the WASPI women gave up and accepted reality? And
our aim is very simple. Our aim is to win. Our aim is to win a majority. And our aim as a party is to govern.
Is Reform going native and joining the Uni Party? In Northamptonshire, the Reform-run council is planning to double council tax on second homes, despite Nigel Farage calling the levy madness. Reform promised to fight higher taxes and bureaucracy, but is it now becoming the blob it once opposed? State of the Nation starts now. I'll also be joined by my preternaturally perspicacious panel, the Reform Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrew Jenkins, and the political consultant and former Labour candidate, Kevin Craig. As always, I want to know your views, mailmog@gbnews.com, but now it's your favourite time of the day, the News Bulletin with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Jacob. Very good evening to you. Our top stories. Donald Trump has described the BBC as a leftist propaganda machine, indicating his billion-dollar legal action against the corporation over its editing of one of his speeches will go ahead. The US president's given the BBC until Friday to publish a full retraction of the Panorama programme in question. BBC Chair Samir Shah has previously apologised for an error of judgment over the edit. Well, his press secretary, Caroline Levitt, has been taking questions at her daily news briefing, including one from our US presenter, Bev Turner.
Does this strain the relationship between the President and the Prime Minister? And given that the organisation is publicly funded, is the President prepared to bankrupt the BBC?
He has always been very frank when he disagrees with leaders, even whom he has a good relationship with. And the BBC, being a fair news organization, is definitely an outlet. I think these two leaders would disagree. The President has made it very clear that this is a leftist propaganda machine that is unfortunately subsidized by British taxpayers, and he thinks that's extremely unfortunate for the great people of the United Kingdom and Great Britain. As you know, the President's external legal counsel has filed a lawsuit against the BBC. We expect that to continue, and whether they apologize or not is up to them.
And Bev joins me now live from Washington, D.C. Bev, a lively news briefing and reports tonight suggest that the BBC is to formally apologise in an effort to solve this legal problem.
That's right, Alex. Obviously, GB News was chosen as the new media seat in the briefing room today. It's a real honour. It's a new thing that was introduced by the Trump administration to kind of, mix up the briefing room to some extent and to freshen it up with new voices in there. So we were thrilled as GB News obviously to be given the position there this afternoon. I've just come directly from the White House, and as you say there, Alex, Caroline Levitt called the BBC a leftist propaganda machine, and they have until Friday. We understand there may have been an apology. We haven't heard from the White House yet what the detail of that might be, but they have until Friday at 5 o'clock DC, which is 10 p.m. UK time, to issue a statement, to an apology, a retraction.
Bev, thank you very much indeed. Bev Turner there joining us live from the US Capitol. Meanwhile, the White House says fresh emails released by US Democrats, which appear to link Donald Trump to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, are a fake narrative to smear the US president. One email alleges Donald Trump spent hours with a victim. In another, addressed to his associate Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein wrote that Donald Trump knew about the girls, referring to the US president as the dog that hasn't barked. Mr. Trump has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to Jeffrey Epstein and has previously said the allegations against him are a hoax. Sir Keir Starmer has insisted he did not authorise attacks against his cabinet ministers, describing briefings against them as unacceptable. He was responding at Prime Minister's questions to rumours of a potential leadership challenge from his health secretary, which Wes Streeting denies. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has accused Sir Keir of losing control of his government. And those are your latest GB News headlines. I'll be back with more at 9.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome back to State of the Nation. Well, when troubles come, they come in battalions, and the Prime Minister is now on borrowed time. Just 15 months into his premiership, the Reverend Starmer is in the midst of a confidence battle, and he's had to refer himself to his own ethics advisor. Last night, it was revealed that Downing Street had launched an extraordinary operation to protect the Prime Minister over fears the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, may be positioning himself for a coup. Number 10 fears Mr Streeting has support from up to 50 front benchers, that's over half of them, if the budget is a disaster. Perhaps that should be when the budget is a disaster. It has also insisted that Sir Keir would fight a leadership contest either immediately after the budget or after the May local elections. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, asked the Prime Minister about the rumours during Prime Minister's questions today.
Why does the Prime Minister think that there would be a market meltdown if the Health Secretary took over?
Mr Speaker, this is a united team and we are delivering together. Look what we're doing. The fastest growth in the G7. 5 interest rate cuts. Trade deals with the EU, the US and India, all of which they oppose, we've delivered. And I can update the House.
If people want to audition for a pantomime, I suggest you go to the Old Vic.
Well, rather conveniently, Mr Streeting was not at PMQs today, but was in Manchester visiting a hospital. He did, however, speak to the media and had this to say.
Most unwarranted attack on a faithful since Joe Marler was banished in the Traitors final, and I think whoever's been briefing this should spend a little less time watching Celebrity Traitors and a bit more time watching Country File.
Well, there we go. But in my view, the Prime Minister now hanging on by a thread, and I very much doubt he'll be Prime Minister this time next year. Indeed, I doubt he'll get to the 2nd anniversary of kissing hands. What is happening to Keir Starmer is what happened to Boris Johnson in 2022, and I remember that well because I was on the other side of it. I was backing Boris at that time. He has lost the confidence of his backbenchers, and now he is losing the support of his ministers. When a Prime Minister's support within his government begins to erode, governing becomes impossible. Ministers become focused on saving their boss or plotting to depose him, as seen when Rishi Sunak and Sajid Javid started the ministerial exodus which forced Boris out. The civil service becomes lethargic, ineffective, as the prospect of a change of government leads them to dismiss their existing agenda and prepare for that change. Despite the denials from Andy Burnham and Wes Streeting et al. That the discontent with the Prime Minister has spread from the left-wing backbenchers to the heart of government, it is clear that despite enjoying a huge majority, Starmer does not command the confidence of his party, and he's running out of time. And as he runs out of time, the country suffers. You need to accept that it's become inevitable and begin to prepare for a change of leadership in an orderly way for the sake of the British people. As ever, let me know what you think. Mailmog at gbnews.com. Well, I'm joined now by my preternaturally perspicacious panel, the Reform Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrew Jenkins, and the political consultant and former Labour candidate, Kevin Craig. Kevin, Sir Keir is in difficulties. It doesn't help that he's had to refer himself to Sir Laurie Magnus about the appointment of the football regulator, a man called David Coogan, that this is just undermining his position and allowing his senior people in Downing Street to brief against ministers is a sign of terrible decay.
Well, look, Jacob, I mean, I had a long day at work today, and it's not been made much better by having to sit through the last 2 minutes of your wishful thinking, I'm afraid, because I was in Downing Street on Monday night, an event with the Chancellor and lots of members of the Parliamentary Labour Party. The Prime Minister does enjoy the support of the Parliamentary Labour Party. Somebody in number 10, it looks like, had a chat with Bloomberg and have created all this noise today. What the Labour Party knows, having watched what happened when you and Andrew were in government, is that it would be political suicide to change a leader that was elected by the British public. And the last data I looked at showed that over half the British public clearly believe that if you change a leader, you have to go to the country.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that is developing as a constitutional norm.
Yeah.
I argued that at the time of Boris. I think it applies more strongly because people voted for Keir Starmer.
They did.
Not for Wes Streeting.
They did. And so fear not. I know it would be great for GB News and, you know, leading successful reform politicians like the good mayor if Labour was in crisis, but it isn't. What I find hard, and if I can just share my problem and then one of you two might be able to help me, is that a government, a year and a half in, with 5 million NHS appointments, interest rate reductions, breakfast clubs, the slow turning around of decline is in this bother. And to me, I think we need to look at the communications in number 10 because there's a lot of good things happening and they don't seem to be getting out there.
OK, so, Andrew, it's all the fault of the number 10 press operation because otherwise this is
Conservative government, of course.
This is a marvellous, marvellous administration that's doing brilliantly, really, with a wonderful leader.
Absolutely not. I mean, do you remember, Jacob, they said the grown-ups are in charge? Do you remember the gloating? And look, they're seeing the challenges of government. They are realising that you cannot overpromise and underdeliver. I mean, they've broken so many promises. Look at what they've done to the farmers, despite Starmer being there in front of the NFU and farmers, stating he'll support them when he virtually stabbed them in the back. So I think I do think it's going to be hard to get rid of Starmer. I mean, I hope he's out, you know, causing more damage within the Labour Party for the full term, personally. But I'd also say, look at the Conservatives at the moment. The plotting's going on against Kemi, and really only Reform's united at the moment, and the Green Party.
We're going to talk about reform a bit later. We're going to come on to that. But, Kevin, I want to come back to your saying just somebody gave a grumpy interview to Bloomberg.
Yeah.
It was much more focused than this. The same message went to The Times, it went to The Guardian, it went to the BBC, that this is senior people in Downing Street. And it does happen. I think it's a terrible thing.
They'll lose their job. But whoever that was will lose their job.
It's the start of the rot. We've seen it, haven't we?
Well, they never do lose their job. We've seen this before.
No, there is no rot inside this government. What there is...
Can I ask,
I
Kevin?
didn't interrupt you, Madam Mayor, because I like to listen to what you're saying, but I will say...
Got a question.
OK, there are 35,000 people being removed out of this country who are listening to working classes on immigration. I would say, as a businessman, as a wealth creator, as someone who wants this country to succeed, that things are much better than they were. They're not moving fast enough for people. And every Labour MP who listens to this or sees it, OK, they need to have their head examined if they think that changing the leader elected by this country, albeit on a shallow majority, he has to be given the chance to get the job done, and I think things will turn round.
Can I say, in my experience, I was in the Whip's office during Boris's time, and the bigger the majority, the harder it is to control. Because, I mean, look, we've been rebels, haven't we, Jacob? Once you rebel, when it's a big majority, you realise you can get away with it. And I think when you get to the 2-year point, your marginal seat MPs are going to be thinking, it's myself first. So I think watch this happen. Right. I mean, I agree. You know, you don't want to be changing leader. We've been there, done that, and see it doesn't work.
As you two both know, the idea that some, and I've got a lot of good friends across this large parliamentary Labour Party, and they need to sort of not get deluded, right, about the power of the individual's own brand in a seat, OK? You succeed...
Every MP does that, cross-party, absolutely.
And you succeed or fail on basically, in 2029... Well, the British people trust us to run the economy. I think there's a great chance they will. Is the NHS going to be better? And I know he's boring for some, whatever, and you call him the Reverend, but we have there a bloke who is honest and wants to get the job done. And any Labour MP who thinks he'll save their skin by starting to change it, get a grip.
OK, it is unfortunate, though, that he's had to refer himself to his own ethics advisor.
I'm glad you asked me about that, because even before coming on tonight, I tweeted about, and that very story, about half an hour ago, and I said... Isn't it great that the level of probity and transparency that we have under this Prime Minister means it's a technicality. He loves football. There was a guy who's really qualified to be a football regulator. Keir was asked on a piece of paper, should he get the job? He said yes, and he forgot to say.
I completely accept
it's not
that.
VIP lanes, is it?
I completely accept that. but it's not the approach he took when he was leader of the opposition.
Absolutely.
When he was leader of the opposition, the slightest mistake by a Tory,
people in glass houses,
he was
isn't
saying
it
was an outrage. Actually, you're quite right. The busyness of government means that these sorts of mistakes will be made, but he was utterly unforgiving when the boot was on the other foot. So why should we forgive him?
Well, because I would contend, and I understand in the sort of ding-dong of politics why you would say that, but I actually think the actual detail of this, which viewers and listeners may or may not look up, is really trivial, and it was on issues of substance and big money, e.g. a Tory peer. A Tory... Well, that was about COVID.
Yeah.
E.g. A Tory peer, now owing us tens of millions of pounds.
Those decisions, as you know, were made by civil servants. Government ministers do not award contracts. You know that perfectly well.
Indeed, but the Keir was just making the point that it was a Conservative peer that benefited with tens of millions of public money. But I don't blame you. Of course, it's the ding-dong of politics, and you've got to, at every stage, hold into account.
Kevin, can I ask you a question, please? I agree with you that when MPs start believing their own ego and hype, there's problems in any party. But what about the public, though? Because look at the opinion polls.
Oh, yeah.
They don't believe in Starmer and the Labour government. Would you accept that?
I'd say at the moment, Labour's poll ratings are undeniably low, but there is a lot...
Why do you think that is, then?
Well, because I think that we have had trouble getting across a lot of the successes that, slow turning around of the NHS, breakfast clubs. We are listening to the public, especially Red Wall seats about immigrants. I mean, we are doing a lot, but in the busy news world, people want it faster.
All right, well, thank you very much to my panel. Now, I would advise Keir Starmer not to say he's got a united team again, because it leads to ridicule.
Yes.
Britain is a nation on benefits. More than 4 million people now claim universal credit without a requirement to look for work, up 50% since Labour took office. Britain is sliding into a benefits crisis it can't afford. Thank you both very much.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So many people within the armed services now can say that they owe their lives if they were, shall we say, work in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, in Iraq before that, actually owe their lives to the fact that it was dogs that they sent out to see whether or not there were explosives in a building, whether they were going through a minefield or whatever. So I think we were just talking previously, of course, Hannibal used his elephants. And there has not been a single year since the end of the Second World War when we have not had a conflict of some sort, and animals are still being used. We don't have horses used in the same way, obviously. We still had the cavalry, which is why 8 million horses were lost. Horses, donkeys and mules were lost in the First World War. But they weren't just the cavalry horses. They were the horses that were pulling the guns, that were delivering the armaments, that were carrying out the wounded. And what is interesting is, today in the 21st century, in Ukraine, who are leading the way in using drones in modern warfare, they are doing what they did in the First World War, and they're using horses, donkeys and mules to take the wounded out. The wonderful memorial that we have on Park Lane, it's there and it recognises that it was horses, dogs, donkeys, mules, and if you look, because they have individual statues of them, but if you actually look at the memorial itself, you will see pigeons. Dolphins. I mean, we know that dolphins are being used. As human beings, we share this planet with millions of other animals. And for centuries, we have used certain animals and abused them, used them and abused them, and got them into service with us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live, every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Back, I'm still Jacob Rees-Mogg, and we were talking about the PM being on borrowed time, and the Mail-Moggs have been zooming in. Stephen says if Sir Keir's own MPs are losing faith in him, how can he expect the British public to have any faith in him? He has to go. And Monty says it's about the polls. They know Reform are heading from landslide victory, and they're fighting like rats in a sack. It's only going to get worse for Starmer. He's toast after the May elections. And Jane says if Starmer goes, who would replace him? A list of potential decent candidates can be written on the head of a pin. Well, yes, Jane, I think I might say always keep a hold of nurse for fear of finding something worse. Britain is becoming a nation on benefits. New figures reveal that more than 4 million people are now claiming universal credit without having to look for work. This is the highest number on record, accounting for half of all claimants, and an increase of 50% since Labour took office. The government has, as usual, blamed the previous government's handling of legacy benefits, but the country is ebbing further towards a welfare crisis. Cost of disability payments is forecast to be £100 billion a year by the end of the decade. Government has promised to act, but unemployment is rising and Labour backbench opposition to any welfare reform is allowing Britain's already bloated welfare bill to move further towards breaking point. Well, I'm joined now by Media Campaign Manager at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood, and, of course, my panel. William, thank you for coming in. This is really serious, isn't it? Because part of the reason we're going to have tax rises is this extra number of people who are getting benefits, no questions asked.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it speaks to something about the soul of our nation, where you have 4 million people who are just sitting there at home, not doing anything at all. And I don't think that's good for their mental health. It's not good for economic productivity, and it's not good for the country. And also remember, taxpayers are going to be picking up the bill for this. I mean, the Universal Credit Bill is about £87 billion, which is about 28% of our overall welfare and benefits bill. And you start to think about where's this going to be in 1 year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time if this trend keeps continuing. And that also raises the question of Rees is going to raise the taxes in this budget. If this bill keeps going up, is she going to have to come back for more?
And are there the jobs available? Because currently unemployment is rising, vacancies are declining, economic growth is sluggish. If they were given incentives to get back into work, what would they do?
Well, I think that the problem with the current economy at the moment is this Labour government is, to some extent, actually destroying a lot of the productive areas of the economy. I mean, let's just take the employees' national insurance hike to begin with. Many businesses have decided not to give their employees pay rises, not hire more employees, not expand, not do more investment, and that's having a knock-on on people who want to get into work, especially young people. I mean, this is quite a stark statistic, but now 1 out of 8 young people my age, 25, 26, are not in employment, education or training. I mean, what does that say about the state of the nation when you have young people like myself who are not going up to work every single day? And actually, a lot of those people are claiming universal credit. About 80% of them are claiming universal credit for mental health issues, which also says that, well, actually, the best thing to solve their mental health issues is to get a job and get out there in the real world.
And there's a lot of evidence that that is the case, particularly for male unemployment.
Absolutely.
That it is male unemployed people are likely to have poor mental health. What can the government do about this? What initiatives could they take? What policies have worked in the past?
Well, my view, actually, is, first of all, you need to reverse the employers' hike on national insurance. You need to give small businesses, medium enterprises the ability to hire young people. And also you need to do with play with the Employment Rights Bill, which is going to end up giving businesses loads of red tape, meaning that people can come into employment and essentially, sue the business, take sick leave from basically day one without any level probation period. That's also not good for young people. Also, actually, a more controversial point, when I was young, I worked on a 0 hours contract for a private teaching company, and I absolutely loved it. It was great. Wasn't paid an amazing amount, but you know what? It got me out every single 3 to 4 times a week, able to earn me a bit more money, and I didn't mind that I didn't have any set hours, because sometimes I'd do more, sometimes I'd do less. But nevertheless, when I was 16, 17 years old, I was working, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think more young people need that in the country today.
Kevin, let me bring you in, because you're a businessman, you employ people.
Yeah.
What do you think Labour should do to make employment conditions more attractive? And what element of stick is it reasonable to use to get these 4 million people at least to look for jobs?
I think the difference in how the Labour Party talks about this compared to the Taxpayers Alliance is just probably with a bit more compassion for people living a life on benefits, which is not, you just characterised it as sitting around all day doing nothing. But what is a problem in the economy is there are too many people, and Labour did inherit this. And I think there's a review being undertaken by Alan Milburn, a former health secretary. Labour's put tens of millions of pounds into new apprenticeship schemes, into digging into how you get people off benefits. There are advisors going to be put in job centres, which was controversial to some, right? I'm sorry, in GP centres. Do you remember we talked about that? So there's a raft of details aimed at getting into areas of high unemployment to try and bring people back into work. And, you know, this characterisation from the Taxpayers Alliance, who I can't remember funds them, about how Labour's managing the economy. You know, we have been the fastest growing G7 economy in the first half of the year. The interest rate environment is stable. You know, I'm a signed-up capitalist. I believe in companies, profits, create jobs, pays taxes, make this country better. Labour want people to have more money in their pockets, and the budget is about NHS, national debt and money in pockets.
OK, but to be fair, part of the reason interest rates have gone down is because the economy's been so sluggish, as you know.
I always think, Jacob, that's a fair point you make, but there has to be confidence in those leading the government, and there is in the economy.
Would you like to see the NI increase reversed? Do you think that would be affordable? And the Employment Rights Bill, do you think that's helpful in these circumstances?
So, as an example, right, overnight, the National Insurance, and we currently employ 85 people across the country, that cost us £100,000. Now, nobody likes unplanned impacts on the profit and loss like that, but the country's overall books needed it. On Monday night, Rachel Reeves said, I was there, in number 11, she knows that businesses took a hit in that budget, OK, but she understands the importance of what we do for the economy. And so I think that the budget will not bring anything onerous again on businesses. That's what I hope.
All right. Andrew, what would reform do to get 4 million people back into work?
I can tell you what I'm doing in Lincolnshire, actually. But first of all, I mean, I think that I don't believe that people's got and the markets have got confidence in Labour, like you said, the Employment Rights Bill, but also the driving away wealth and job creators. So, I mean, what I'm doing in Lincolnshire is a Get Lincolnshire Working scheme. We've got, obviously, the coastal areas, areas of deprivation. So it's looking at the reasons. We've got seasonal work. But what I'm trying to do is bring a parity of esteem. We saw how Blair and Labour pushed everybody the academic route. And we haven't got enough builders, enough trades, so I'm building a trades college. I'm going to make sure it's the biggest one in the UK. I'm trying to have a parity of esteem between trades, vocational, technical qualifications, and transport and infrastructure. Because if we don't get these things right, especially in rural communities, you'll know about rural communities, Jacob, and people can't get to work. I'm looking at how people can be trained. We're looking at, until we get the transport and infrastructure right, can people be trained online more? And also what I'm doing as well. I mean, it's a very sad fact on our old government, actually, that literacy and numeracy was on a 10-word downward spiral. So I've proposed to...
literacy and numeracy improved hugely from 2010 to 2024 overall.
Not in adults.
Adults, but in children, people leaving school were doing much better.
Adults, I'm talking about adult literacy and numeracy. So what I'm proposing is to get rid of ESOL, because Lincolnshire spends £1 million a year on that. And I'm proposing that it's literacy for all, because we've got our own, working class communities who haven't even got the basic grasp of literacy of a 12-year-old.
All right, William, what sticks do you think are needed in addition to the carrots that Andrew is proposing?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is we need to bring assessments back into person. I think that, unfortunately, within the last Conservative government, and the reasons for this due to COVID, it went online. But the issue is, once COVID ended, the Conservatives put no real plan in place to actually get that back in person. So I believe that I think there's now 9 out of 10 assessments for welfare are done over Zoom, which I don't think is acceptable considering where it was previously pandemic, where it was the complete other way around. I also think that there just needs to be more general support of young people. I think that 1 out of 8 young people not being in education, employment or training is an incredibly depressing place to be in the country. And also, if the Labour government is interested in economic growth, it should be really focusing on that bracket of 18 to 24-year-olds, whether it comes to providing them job opportunities in small businesses, whether it's by not not punishing wealth, whether it's by not punishing aspiration in terms of their rhetoric. So I think there's a few things that they could do, and obviously we'll have to see what happens in the budget, but I'll be honest with you, I don't have massive high hopes for what might come in the budget.
All right, well, we've got a statement from a DWP spokesman who said, the number of people receiving universal credit has been increasing as we've invited tens of thousands of people each month to move from legacy benefits as they become phased out. We're determined to get more people off welfare and into work. Every eligible young person will also be offered guaranteed paid work through our youth guarantee. Well, thank you very much to William and indeed to my panel. In a moment, the government is reviewing its decision to deny compensation to the WASPI women. The Work and Pensions Secretary insists payouts are not guaranteed. Is it time the WASPI women gave up and accepted reality?
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The low pressure responsible for the UK's wet weather is also bringing wet, windy weather to Iberia. Heavy showers in Cyprus caused by another low, but in between, high pressure, a lot of fine weather for Italy. Madeira and the Canary Islands seeing some lively showers and thunderstorms on Thursday. Here's this band of rain, which is really quite slow moving across Portugal and western parts of Spain, eventually edges its way eastwards during the next few days, but Italy stays very nice indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Now, heavy rain will move into northern areas through tonight. Will turn that much drier across southern areas, and a chilly wind will develop across the far north of Scotland as we've got a northerly wind direction here. Further south, this weather front will move into parts of northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing heavy and persistent rain through much of the night and into Thursday morning as well. We could see some snow flurries as this rain bumps into the colder air across parts of northern Scotland as well. Further south, though, will turn much clearer as the night goes on, but it's going to be another mild night. Temperatures still 12, 13, 14 degrees to start the day on Thursday across much of England and Wales. Further north, though, a very chilly start to the day. Temperatures down into single figures, and a very brisk northerly wind will bring an especially chilly feel to the far north of Scotland. Now, as that cold air undercuts the rain, I think it's going to feel quite cold across parts of Northern Ireland, southern areas of Scotland too, and that heavy rain will persist through much of the morning. Further south, though, very different morning to come across parts of Wales, southwestern England, potentially some sunshine around, and with temperatures above average here for the time of year, it will feel fairly pleasant. There will be plenty of dry and fair weather across much of England and Wales through Thursday as well, so a little drier interlude in all the rain we've had this week so far. Further north across parts of Scotland as well, there will be some such sunshine, but that cold wind will continue to keep temperatures well below average, 7 or 8 degrees at best, with cloud and rain persisting across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Now, that fine weather across the south will not last too long. The next batch of rain arrives on Thursday night and will linger through much of Friday. There is a weather warning in force for rain, but there will also be some very brisk easterly winds that will bring potentially some disruption as well. So please keep up to date with the forecast. Looking further ahead to the rest of the weekend, it does look a little drier.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, once again, mail mogs have been coming in as we were discussing Britain on benefits. And Frankie says Starmer and Reeves thought clobbering businesses would make them popular until prices rose and jobs were lost. Now all the revenue Labour raised is being swallowed by the welfare black hole created by their first budget. Their second will be even worse. And Sampson says benefits are meant to be a safety net for the vulnerable. Living on welfare should not be a lifestyle choice. Hear, hear, Sampson. And Henry says today's figures also show 1.2 million foreigners on universal credit, many of whom have never worked. Is there any other country in the world where you can turn up, not work, and get rewarded? I hope not. I hope others aren't so silly. Anyway, the government is reconsidering its decision to deny compensation to the WASPI women who are demanding financial recompense over changes to the state pension age. The campaigners say 3.6 million women born in the 1950s were not told their pension age would rise from 60 to 65, leaving many working longer than they had expected. A newly discovered 2007 document, not shown to the previous Work and Pension Secretary, has prompted the government to review its stance. But the current DWP Secretary, Pat McFadden, says this doesn't mean payouts will follow. The WASPI campaign has welcomed the news, despite compensation potentially costing more than £10 billion that would fall on young people and accounting possibly for any revenue from a tax rise in the budget. So it's just time the WASPI women gave up and accepted reality. Well, I'm joined now by a WASPI woman, or a WASPI lady. We only invite ladies on GB News, and campaigner Debbie Despon. Debbie, thank you very much for joining me. The WASPI women should have known, shouldn't they? It was announced in 1993, turned into law in 1995, 17 years' notice. Don't people have responsibility for their own financial affairs?
Well, they do to a degree, but also the government have a responsibility to inform people properly about major changes in their life. And we're talking about a period of time where there wasn't the internet to pop on and check things. There were a few leaflets available in employment offices, and there were some strange advertisements in broadsheet newspapers. But for such a fundamental change, for an increase of up to 6 years in your state pension age, I think women deserved a letter through the post.
Well, aren't people responsible for their own financial affairs? That Kevin Craig was saying earlier that when national insurance went up, his business, with a few months' notice, faced a bill of £100,000. That's the way the tax and benefits system works. The government makes announcements, it hits you pretty much as soon as it came in. The WASPI women had 17 years. And those who didn't do anything, because lots of women knew about it and did make arrangements, it's their own fault, and they ought to just take responsibility for their own lives.
Well, I certainly think the WASPI women have taken responsibility for their own lives. They've worked through most of it, and they've paid their national insurance, and they went through their lives understanding that they'd retire at 60. If the government couldn't be bothered to send them a letter to inform them of a major change, that's let them down. And the Ombudsman, who carried out a 6-year investigation into our situation, concluded that we hadn't been informed properly and in the way that we should have been informed, and that was maladministration, and that WASPI women should be paid compensation, a very small amount of compensation, just for the lack of notice, not for the loss of state pension.
But what I'd say is that 17 years is plenty of notice, and that people have an obligation to pay attention to things that affect their financial affairs. They shouldn't be spoon-fed by the government, nor should they expect £10 billion, or whatever the compensation would be, to fall on young taxpayers who will have to work not just to 65, but probably by the time they come to retire to 70 or more.
Well, we can unpack that a little bit. The government saved over 180 billion raising the state pension age just for WASPI women. So the government have already had a huge amount of money off WASPI women's backs. Yes, there was a responsibility for women to find out, but finding out wasn't as easy as it is today. And many women did not receive the letters that the government sent and simply didn't know. And the Ombudsman concluded that women didn't know. And the fact
but they didn't know through their own ignorance. It seems to me to be their fault, and that people must take responsibility. It's like leaving money in a bank account that pays low interest, or staying with your insurer and not changing every year because you'd get a better price with someone else. If you're ignorant, that's your fault. It's not taxpayers' fault.
Well, I think accusing a whole generation of women of being ignorant is unreasonable and unfair.
I'm not, because most of them had the wit to know, and I know some WASPI women who aren't complaining, had the wit to pay attention to the newspapers and the radio and knew that their retirement age was going up. They didn't necessarily like it, but they weren't ignorant.
It's factually not correct that most women know, because the government concluded that when they put in their defence for our judicial review, doesn't make it true. The majority of women didn't know that their state pension age was increasing. They may have known there were to be changes to their state pension age, but they didn't know how it was going to affect them personally. And that
if they knew the age was going up, they knew it was going to affect them. I mean, that really is splitting hairs. But I want to ask you one thing about whether you have any faith in the Labour Party, because Labour promised it would give you all these cash payments before the election and then reneged on it. Do you think what is happening now with Pat McFadden is that he was worried about the judicial review and thought he might lose on a technicality, and that this is about dotting I's and crossing T's with the intention of making exactly the same decision again?
It's quite possible that the minister concluded that their reasons and their defences were unlawful, and that was exactly what we challenged at the judicial review. And that's something that the government could acknowledge far earlier on, instead of which they chose for us to raise £250,000 to bring a judicial review, only to pick up the ball and run away with it at the very last minute. So where does that leave all of us? You know, a judicial review with not all of the questions resolved, and one answer resolved because somebody didn't show the minister a particular report. It's shabby, it's scandalous, and WASPI women deserve better.
Well, I don't think you deserve any money, but I don't think the government's behaved well. Anyway, thank you for joining me, Debbie. In a moment.
Our aim is very simple. Our aim is to win. Our aim is to win a majority, and our aim as a party is to govern.
Is reform going native? In Northamptonshire, the Reform-run council is planning to double council tax on second homes. Is reform becoming the blob it once opposed?
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Is reform going native again? In North Northamptonshire, the Reform-run council has passed a motion to double council tax on second homes, despite Nigel Farage once calling such a levy madness. Reform ran on a manifesto opposing higher taxes and state interference, but now its councillors are backing the surcharges they once condemned. Nigel Farage says he was misquoted, but is this a case of a new party talking about change whilst governing like the blob it opposes? If reform can't control bureaucracy in town halls, would it ever be ready to run Britain?
I am not the Messiah. I'm a very naughty boy.
Well, I'm joined now by my preternaturally perspicacious panel, Reform's Andrew Jenkins and Labour's Kevin Craig. Now, Andrew, this really worries me because...
Of course.
I'm not at all hostile to reform.
No.
I'm a fan of your leader.
Yeah.
I thought your ability to take over councils could be really refreshing.
Yes.
But last week we had Staffordshire Council on saying they'd found £4.5 billion in savings, which they were going to repurpose, which seems to me to be the most bureaucratic word you could get. Now, in Northamptonshire, they're putting up tax when they said they were against it. This is just you being absorbed by the blob.
Look, I mean, I have to say I wouldn't necessarily always make these decisions. I can tell you what I'm doing at local level. However, we've got to look at the reality. Local government has less levers, don't they, to try and... Local government is in such a financial mess, which didn't help with our government. It's not helping, our old government. It's not helping with Labour. So reform's got a lot to clean up, so they have got to make these difficult decisions. I mean, on a national level, yeah, we do oppose it, and I oppose it. But, I mean, if I look at what I'm doing, I mean, in my manifesto, I didn't overpromise. I've been in politics long enough, and I'm literally delivering on my things. I'm doing like you did. Do you remember the challenges you faced, Jacob, in government with your pushing back with civil servants on work from home? I'm doing the same at the moment at the mayoral level. And when you're in positions of power, it comes with its challenges. We all know that.
Reform ran last year before the local elections, saying that they were going to cut all this waste out of local government, that there was masses of waste, all these DEI people, so on and so forth. It was all going to be easy.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, oh, well, actually, government's really difficult and local government finds it hard. It's no good. You can't have it both ways.
No, and I say to every Reform Council leader out there, you need to doge in there. Yeah, I've been saying it. I want it in Lincolnshire.
Have you got some cuts?
Look, I'm a combined authority. It's a brand new combined authority. I get the P&L every month to see. I look on the bottom line what's being spent. A bit. Like the way you do things.
Do you think these combined authorities are any good? Because the wonderful Aaron Banks stood for Weckham there, and he said he'd abolish the whole thing. I mean, I didn't vote for him, I voted Conservative, but I thought this was the best line, because Wecker's a complete waste of space.
Oh, well, we saw what happened, didn't we? What was it, £1 million the Conservatives spent on a PR machine, didn't
No, Wecker was Labour.
Labour. I'm thinking of the... Oh, right,
Wecker was Labour, but complete waste of space. So let me bring Kevin in, because this may be a slightly jollier part of the evening for you. Government is difficult. You've found that.
Yes.
Reform's finding that.
Yeah.
It's not that the people who've been running things previously...
The Conservatives found it, let's not forget.
Indeed, are a bunch of idiots deliberately doing things badly. It's just harder than it seems when you're taking pot shots from opposition.
Yeah, and look, I did 17 years in local government in London, so... Yeah, so what I know, which you both know, which Andrea alluded to, is it is difficult. Local authorities, the problem is the health and social care issue, which remains for this government to address. And local authorities' room for manoeuvre is smaller than it was historically. And
it's also transporting send children as well to school, isn't it? That is massive in every council across the country.
But there is agreement between the Labour Party and Reform that some of those taxi issues need to be looked at. But the issue here, I think, is that Reform have a lot of new first-time councillors, right? Local government, and I get stick because I'm always standing up for respecting people of all parties who undertake public service, because it's tough.
It is,
and so, you know, what they're finding is, your starting point, Jacob, it's easy to throw pot shots from the outside. People, not for me to speculate why they voted Reform, but I would say that there's a danger that people might end up thinking, well, Reform promised a lot and it's not, you know, they're not getting much difference. That's the challenge.
That's what's such a problem, isn't it? That
Absolutely.
It seems as if most Reform councils are going to put the council tax up by the maximum amount. That's not why people voted for you.
Look,
and this is the real test of Reform.
I mean, this is why, as I said on my manifesto, you know, and, you know, as one of the, you know, senior elected politicians of Reform, I'm not going to mess this up because the weight's on the shoulders, because we have got to deliver. And I do think that, look, they have got a tough job, all eyes are on them, but they've got to balance the books, so they've got to make difficult decisions. Yeah, as you know.
But does it make you wince when your Reform colleagues are not succeeding in doing this and seem as if they're just doing what would have been done by Conservative councillors if they'd carried on?
I'd like, as I said, I'd like every Reform-led council to be for them to bring Doge in there, because there's always ways to save money. Yeah, and I would definitely like to see that.
And are your officials trying to get you to do what they want? How are you standing up to them? How are you leading making sure
you and I are very similar with this? Yes, I mean, I'll give an example, Jacob. On my first week, the officers said, "Oh, we've organised this dinner with all the local business leaders." I said, "Oh, great. How much is it going to cost? £4,000. And I said, "No, it's not. It's going to be done by the local catering college, showcase what they do, and it costs, you know, just like what, £300 or £400 or something like that."
And this is important. You've got to save the small amounts.
We've got to see the figures, haven't we?
Yeah. Look, the politics of this is the difference between rhetoric and what actually happens. And Labour's going to be saying that Reform rhetoric is one thing, and then some of their policies are going to lose us jobs.
I mean, I'd like to see a whipping operation.
All right, we've got a right of reply, which everyone's waiting for, from Councillor Martin Griffiths, leader of Northamptonshire Council, who said this is an important step to improve the standard of new existing homes and ensuring housing supply meets demand. Like elsewhere, we have a shortage of housing available to our residents. So anything we can do to increase supply is absolutely the right thing to do. This seems to have nothing to do with the question at hand, and further proves that he has become a fully paid-up member of the bloc. Anyway, the mailmog's come in on all sorts of interesting things. On Monday, I did a martini-making demonstration on this very programme, and an expert, as it happens, one of London's leading estate agents, who has been in touch, and says a chilled glass, absolutely, hard ice, Boodle's gin, stir it till it's icy, add a lemon twist. But, crucially, all you do with the vermouth is show it to the bottle to the shaker, and that is sufficient. It must be that dry. Some people say you should do it down the telephone. Anyway, up next, it's the one and only Patrick Christys, who I hope will also be enjoying a martini.
Absolutely. Yes, Jacob, thank you very, very much. Loads on this evening. A big exclusive for you. Migrants, illegals and human traffickers are using social media to make money. More on that in a sec.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Now, heavy rain will move into northern areas through tonight. Will turn that much drier across southern areas, and a chilly wind will develop across the far north of Scotland as we've got a northerly wind direction here. Further south, this weather front will move into parts of northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing heavy and persistent rain through much of the night and into Thursday morning as well. We could see some snow flurries as this rain bumps into the colder air across parts of northern Scotland as well. Further south, though, will turn much clearer as the night goes on, but it's going to be another mild night. Temperatures still 12, 13, 14 degrees to start the day on Thursday across much of England and Wales. Further north, though, a very chilly start to the day. Temperatures down into single figures, and a very brisk northerly wind will bring an especially chilly feel to the far north of Scotland. Now, as that cold air undercuts the rain, I think it's going to feel quite cold across parts of Northern Ireland, southern areas of Scotland too, and that heavy rain will persist through much of the morning. Further south, though, very different morning to come across parts of Wales, southwestern England, potentially some sunshine around, and with temperatures above average here for the time of year, it will feel fairly pleasant. There will be plenty of dry and fair weather across much of England and Wales through Thursday as well. So a little drier interlude in all the rain we've had this week so far. Further north across parts of Scotland as well, there will be some such sunshine, but that cold wind will continue to keep temperatures well below average, 7 or 8 degrees at best, with cloud and rain persisting across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Now that fine weather across the south will not last too long. The next batch of rain arrives on Thursday night and will linger through much of Friday. There is a weather warning in force for rain, but there will also be some very brisk easterly winds that will bring potentially some disruption as well. So please keep up to date with the forecast. Looking further ahead to the rest of the weekend, it does look a little drier.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No, because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit